This week's episode is sponsored by Soul Roots Running Company, where you can find the best covers for your feet that make you travel comfortably and quickly across sidewalks like Shell Silverstein. Soul Roots offers all varieties of running shoes, clothes, and accessories. And for 10% off, please use the code SCENE, SCENE, at checkout. And any order over $180 is free to ship anywhere in the continental United States. Head over to shop.soulrootsracing.com and fill up your cart for 10% off with the code SCENE. And welcome to the Scene Weekly podcast, where we harken back to our college debate days and pick two movies of the same theme in an attempt to be free and with a million things to do, like being here. This week's episode is focused on Hal Ashby's top-tier, tasty movies, with Being There meeting Harold and Maude. Come join Jonathan and Stephen for another week of hopefully less plot chatter and copious more film banter. We are Scene Weekly, and welcome to our world.
Welcome.
50.
Wow. 50 in. And it's our first time talking about a director, like an auteur, basically. We haven't done it yet. We talked about a writer.
Not?
We did the Truman Show and Gattaca, but we haven't dived into, I don't want to say like Hal Ashby is like, he's kind of like an under the radar hidden gem, if you know kind of film guy. He's not a Scorsese, he's not a Spielberg, he's not a Tarantino. But if you know Hal Ashby, you know,
I got a problem, because I think either I'm an idiot. That's one option. There's probably multiple here in the severity of idiocy or lunacy. I read recently the Harry Potter series, and I don't know if it's a British thing, but you just triggered my brain. Each time she said dived, she being the author of, the books.
JK, yeah.
JK, literally. But like every time she said, I was like, isn't it dove? They dove? Like in the brooms, so it's used frequently, as you might imagine. You just said dived, and I was like, I never used dived, ever. I used dove. People, what do you think? Is it dived or dove, or is it both? I hate getting into these like grammar wars, because there's no answer on some of them.
There's no answer.
And you're just like talking, and like you go on a Reddit thing, and 4 hours later you find yourself like looking at cat videos or squirrels or something. But anyway, Hal Ashby, I wouldn't say he's hidden. We're talking about him,
right? But what I'm getting at is he's not always in the same breath or in the same, like the forefront of the mind of like, Mean Streets and Pulp Fiction, and like these, like, I mean, they're cult classics in a way. Like they're these two movies especially, like they didn't win all the awards and hit up the box office. And like you ask a random person on the street, you go to Times Square and do like an in-person interview and be like, hey, tell me your favorite Hal Ashby film. They're going to be like, what the hell are you talking about?
I mean, can you see? I don't know if you can even see.
You got a poster.
Yeah. I mean, to me, he's not very hidden, to be fair. So there's that. And I don't know what to say. I mean, I guess if you've seen any amount of movies, you've stumbled along to Being There and to Harold and Maude especially. That sucks if somebody hasn't heard of old Mr. Ashby.
Well, that's what we're doing here, man. That's the goal of today, is to kind of shine a light. And then also, like, for those, those film fans, the film nuts like us, that like to hear and talk about movies, like if you've seen it, and we can dove into it, if you will. Did I do that right?
Not like that. Not in that framework. Anyway, we're getting off the interestingness. How do we do this? I feel like we haven't done this in a year. It's been a while.
It's been a while. There's been some wild things happening where I'm at.
Wildfires.
Yeah. I'm in LA, and I had to evacuate on Wednesday just to be safe, because I could see some flames and fires coming down the hill my way. And man, it was like a zombie apocalypse here that night. Like everybody trying to leave, sirens going on. I saw accidents in the streets, like
Wow.
traffic jams. Like it was weird, man. It was
That's
weird. I hope.
shocking. So weird that you saw a traffic jam.
Oh,
It's
in LA.
very,
Yeah, I know.
very
No.
odd. It's like diving
the
into the weirdest of the weird. There we go. But you sent me a video of visible fire, and I had a friend, or I have a friend that had to evacuate from Santa Monica. His family went east, and he works at the hospital, and he had to take care of a lot of people. But like, he was telling me that they have family friends that just their homes are gone,
oh
gone,
yeah.
gone. Just I can't even really. It's one of those things that maybe my brain is kind of preventing the totality of the situation. I'm not even there. First of all, I'm in New York, from like embedding itself because it's so sad. Like for example, two doors over, or like a street over, I should say, but basically two doors down, the house caught fire, which I've never seen, and just completely burnt to a crisp. And I saw the whole process of like talking to the family and what they actually went through. And, you know, it was on the news. They were in a hotel, then they had to move out of there. And it was devastating for approximately about 2 years.
Oh
And
yeah.
just completely out of your element. And, you know, home is now gone. Um, I can't imagine the amount of people and all. I don't know how many were affected, 100,000 or something like that.
A
Just
lot. Yeah.
seems
Even more so. There. I mean, there's like,
it's crazy.
yeah. And people talk about, you got to have a go bag. And I hadn't really ever thought about that before, like a go bag. Like what do you put in there? What do you pack? Do you prized possessions, sentimental items, things that you might need down the road? Like it's tough. And I had to do that I came home, and like within 15 minutes I was back out the door because I just packed a bag of whatever I could and what I thought I needed.
How many condoms did you bring with you?
Got to play it safe always, right?
I, my wife and I, we talked about this, about what each of us would bring, and I guess we don't have anything in our lives that we think near and dear. I was like, I couldn't think of anything to be honest. I was like, I don't know. I was like, anything that is like special to me. Pictures, they're all printable on my phone and the iCloud, and same with my computer. All my documents are necessary in there. I don't really have any sentimental. I mean, I have some like paintings that we've made here. I have made. We've paid to have them made or painted. Nothing really comes to mind. I was just like, whatever. Not to say
Everything.
I wouldn't care about the house burning down. I'm just saying like there's nothing sentimental in the house. I would just be like, I need this. Um, it's like, all right, let's just get the fuck out. Basically, let's get out.
Yeah.
We don't have
You
any
can
animals. I'd grab an animal if there were one.
you have chickens.
Yeah, they're gonna be fine. What am I gonna do with the chicken? Just like going around with the chicken. Hey, everybody!
I got some eggs.
Like, what am I supposed to do? Chickens are they're gonna be baked. Sorry,
Oh man.
somebody's gonna enjoy them later. I mean, you know. Anyway, nonetheless, um, yeah. But I feel for the families, and
Yeah, man, it's tough.
I just can't imagine. I don't think I want to imagine. Just it just seems so sad. All those families displaced. But anyway, Hal Ashby. Why don't we dived into it?
Yeah, what's your history with old Hal? When did you stumble upon him? When did you? What was the first of these films that you watched?
Mr. Harold and Miss Maude. I probably watched with an ex girlfriend. Man, was it like 2003, something like that? 2004. So not in the 90s. Not growing. Well, I really didn't watch any movies in the 90s that were like bad. The early 90s, I should say. Yeah, probably 2002 to 2004, somewhere in that framework. Can't recall exactly, but it was Harold and Maude.
Same with me, man. I don't know how I stumbled upon it. Maybe it was like just being into films and wanting to go to film school and things like that. And this was like one of the ones that are like, you got to see this. Like, this is one of the films you got to see. Um, and yeah, man, it's one of those movies that, especially if you go in not knowing what it's about, or even if you do and you like you hear the premise of this movie, it's going to be kind of like that Central Station thing. Like, oh, come on, this is going to be cheesy. This is going to be, a love story between an old lady and a young guy. Like, how good could this be?
Good, pretty fantastic. Yeah, I remember because I liked Harold and Maude, and you like Mr. Hal, and you're like Being There. It's like, have you seen Being There? I don't know how many years ago this was, and I was like, I don't think so. And it turns out I did not, but I laughed. I think I picked up on Peter Sellers, like what he was trying to do, just so well, and every just line he emitted from his mouth was kind of like another punchline. Like, I can't believe this, like, because if you really take a step back, I honestly believe it's the first 10 minutes, and it was my first comment, is basically, is this the best like performance in cinema history? Like, honestly, I'm not even exaggerating. Like, because it's so good. He is Chance. He's so good that you get involved with the character, but Peter Sellers is Chance, the gardener, Chauncey Gardner. Like, he
I,
is him. And
I
it's
was
so
think,
enveloping that
yeah,
you almost lose the fact that this is still film. Like, a guy is playing this part. He's British. He doesn't have this accent. It's like, it's weird. So when you get so engrossed, and I think it's like There Will Be Blood with Daniel Day-Lewis, it's kind of like he is that person, you know? And I felt that with this movie and Peter Sellers, and I am shocked he didn't win.
I mean, it's one of those things where you could have other actors get this role and go in a different direction with it and try and make this character almost like dumb funny, or just, a little bit push the boundaries of like his slowness.
Yeah.
But Peter Sellers, he has this way, and I was reading about his process, and what he does is, first he tries to find the voice of the character, and then he tries to find the walk, because he thinks the walk is super important to what that character would be like. And then all of his, like, just the little facial mannerisms that he has is just like, it creates so much with this character of who this person is, and how people are projecting their want or their needs of like what this person is to them, which he clearly is not. Um,
Yeah, in terms of the voice, it was the first that he worked on, and he recorded himself like ad nauseum, just like trying to figure out what would be best. And he specifically wanted and desired to, like, not to have an accent, or to be able to locate where that accent would be from. Like, if you're from Britain, if you're from Missouri, or from the South and of the United States, something along those lines. He wanted there to be no like influence, if you will.
oh,
I think he
cool.
nailed it, to say the
Yeah,
least.
he did.
But yeah, anyway, to go back, it's just one of those that I laughed less this time, not purposely, but I was like trying to pay more attention to just how good of his performance it was, and almost trying to pick it apart. And I'm like, this is like unstoppable. Like, the moments that he carries like the remote control and he's in the outside world finally, and he tries to change the TV, and actually one of them does change. I was like, must be the same TV. That type of moment, in that he's like so fixated on just like walking down the street, and then he sees TVs, and then he's like his eyes light up, and I don't know, like, terrific performance. I'd have to go through all the other performances in cinema, but he really absolutely crushed it. Just nonstop performance. It's almost gave me like performance anxiety watching it. Like, I can't believe how well he's doing. But anyway,
It's impressive. I mean, I feel like we're already getting into these movies. Should we go with the first, Harold and Maude?
should we really? I feel like Harold and Maude should be last.
Okay, I
Yeah,
kind of agree with you there.
yeah, I think it should be last. I mean, I love them each separately for different reasons, but Harold and Maude is a near and dear sweet baby Jesus to me. So, being there, thank you for recommending many years ago. It has a runtime of 130 minutes. Mr. Hal Ashby, of course, in 1979 put this movie together. It took many years to do so. PG, it's rated PG with a comedy drama. I'm going to go ahead and say it's dramatic and less of the comedy. That's tends to be what I'm thinking in my brain. 95% of Rotten Tomatoes, 7 million budget, 30 in the box office, which actually surprised me. I know Peter Sellers, like, he was having some trouble, hence the reason that nobody wanted to actually put him into this movie until the Pink Panther actually did well, and so he's having
Oh,
some
really? I didn't
trouble.
know that.
Yeah, he was having some trouble, like, because he wanted this role. So it's based on a book by Jerzy Kosinski. I haven't read it, but I know Kosinski not terribly well. But I read The Painted Bird, and The Painted Bird has some scenes that evoke imagery I've never read in any other book. I haven't read it twice or back to back, but there's a moment of like just talking about being in the woods, and I was like, this is outstanding. But and also the very beginning of the book with the house burning down, just is terrific and but morbid to some extent. But anyway, based on a book, which is also, I think, plagiarized based on another Polish book that he stole it from. But
Of course it is.
nonetheless, we won't get into that. But it's a fun one. So the simple-minded Chance, who's played by Peter Sellers, is a gardener who has resided in the Washington, D.C. townhouse of his wealthy employer for his entire life and has been educated only by television. He is forced to vacate his home when his boss dies, and while wandering the streets, he encounters business mogul Ben Rand, who assumes Chance to be a fellow, of course, upper-class gentleman. Soon, Chance is ushered into high society, and his unaffected gardening wisdom makes him the talk of the town. That's the best you could do, I think, in terms of making a fool sound intelligent, or maybe he just is. In the ending, I think says a lot about that. But using the euphemisms, the analogies, and the philosophical wisdom of what is gardening and applying that to pretty much anything in life, especially for the fact of individuals who think of themselves as highfalutin or have like a high idea of modern art, if you will, and
Yeah.
leaves a lot for interpretation. This is the best character to be applying gardening wisdom to others, and they would be like just lapping it up one by one. I mean,
It's brilliant. It's a simple premise, but executed brilliantly, with the performance, with the writing, with even like just every time, like rewatching this movie, and like every time there is an interaction with Chance or now Chauncey Gardner, I think I'm just like waiting, like somebody's going to figure this out, that he's got pudding between his brain. But every thing he does and every response he gives, it just builds in their mind that he's this brilliant man that could possibly be the president. It's amazing.
You know why? Because I think if somebody has extreme confidence, sometimes whether the confidence is actually real or whether or not they're an idiot and they don't even understand like the lack or the idea of confidence to begin with, hence Chauncey/Chance. I think when you present yourself in that manner, people take you very seriously, and he lives in the present. He's not really worried about the future, so there's no anxiety existing between his ears. Probably not much happening between the ears, except gardening and television watching, for which he knows both fairly well. And I think the application he does great. But I think, as we have learned for multiple reasons of people trying to put one over on high society, it's doable. It's definitely doable. You just have to be charismatic, and I guess he's not terribly charismatic, but he's definitely confident and seems intelligent, highly intelligent with his analogies.
It's a confidence, and a lot of people, and I find myself doing this too, because when I want to express something, I start talking really, really fast and rapidly, and I'm trying to get to my point and stuff like that. and it doesn't breed that much confidence. But Chance, he's just like, I understand. That's all you. That's all you need.
Yeah, he basically is hiding his ignorance extremely well and just pushing everything back on the person who's talking to like interpret whatever it is that's
Yeah,
being discussed. Yeah.
it's hilarious. Even the scene, and this is one that just like I think I forgot about this, but when he's talking to the Russian guy, and the Russian basically speaks to him in Russian, Chance just finds the language funny, and he just laughs. But the Russian takes it in as he understood exactly what I was saying.
I mean, it's there is some truth to this. But each time one of these things happen, it just gets funnier and funnier. Like it just another punchline. I can't believe this is working. And also like kind of your idea of like he's gonna get found out and kind of get that in your chest of like, oh no, please don't get found out. Like you want to root for him, you know? Um, I just love how he calls him the old man. He doesn't even know his name. It's like the old man, and we never see him, of course. Like just don't know anything about him really. Know his house, and he has a garden and a gardener.
And he has a caretaker, and she's yelling at the TV when she finds out. Only in a white man's world can this guy wear a suit and be accepted into high society as some affluent person.
It worked. I feel like Chauncey, Mr. Gardner is like an intellectually challenged brother to Willy Wonka.
Or to Forrest Gump.
Yeah, maybe there. I think Wonka seems like more of that walking on water type.
Yeah.
Seems like that would work out well. The guy that was just like sent to the attic, given a TV, like Arrested Development. Just sit up there. You're gonna be okay.
I have an idea about that ending. If you want to get into it, I mean,
get into it.
So, well, first off, I want to know what your take is on the ending of Chance walking off into seemingly on water, basically like a Christ figure.
I think it's fairly shallow water, so he's able to walk through the water, shallow water, just a little sliver of a pond.
See, yeah, or there's like this submerged pier that you just can't see. That's right there. But whatever it is,
yeah,
a jetty. But what the brilliance of it is Hal Ashby is now trying to ask the question to the viewer, trick the viewer into thinking or to projecting even more onto Mr. Chance.
Yeah,
and like, you shouldn't do it.
Is he the guy that he said? Like, it does. Is he that wise? Can he walk on water? I don't know. Yeah, I the first time I watched it, I was like, that's hilarious. First of all, and now I don't try to think about the philosophical implications of said water walking, potential of water walking. Just leave it as is. It's funny, but yeah, it's more like, is he real or is he not? Is he God? I don't know. I don't truly know. My answer I just made up right now on the spot. I have no clue.
Does Chance have any kind of sexual desire, or is he just
don't think so?
He just following along the TV, just like he does Pilates?
Yeah, he doesn't have any sexual desire, but who am I to say? I will say there's a small slice of life though that it separates crazy and astute, and I think or like crazy and like highly intelligent and crazy. I think he's along these lines. Sometimes it's hard to decipher. But I will say, to go back to the second thing he's working on, is his walk. His walk is fantastic. Like anytime he walks anywhere, I'm like, when he's talking, I'm like, that's hilarious. But when he's walking, I was like, he's literally made like a walk and talk. Like he's done exceptionally. Like a top 10 performance in cinema. Like, I don't know. Can you walk differently and think while talking and act? I don't know. It just seems very difficult. And maybe I'm just a moron. It seems very hard.
It's almost like this
new
Charlie Chaplin kind of like embodiment. You know what I mean? Like he has this like very astute, but it's funny in a way. I don't know. How
That's
to describe
a good point.
it.
Chaplin. That would be a very good point. A good comparison, I would say. Yeah.
Maybe it's the umbrella and the hat. I don't know.
I'll have to say there were signs that he wasn't who he was saying that he was, which only the viewer of the movie would understand the complexity or lack thereof. When was it, did you have a chance? And then he's like, yes.
Yes. Keeps
And like,
interrupting the president.
did you have a chance? Like those are the moments that it's not breaking the fourth wall per se, but I appreciate those moments of hilarity. Probably some of my funniest where I'm like laughing out loud. Um, it still doesn't break character, still doesn't get like a follow up question from anybody. It just and why would you? You know, just of course, you know, just trying to cover for his ineptitudes. But I don't know.
So this would be what would you think? I mean, early on in this movie, he gets a stroke of luck. Well, first a stroke of bad luck with his old man dying and being kicked out of the house, and he's basically homeless. He's got a nice suit and umbrella, and his channel changer clicker.
Yeah.
Um, and it could have been a very different movie if he didn't get hit by that car. Well, he didn't really get hit; he got like nudged. But yeah, I mean,
He'd be mugged for sure.
I want to see that movie too. I want to see the alternate version of Chance the gardener living on the
choose
streets.
choose your own chance adventure. That would be actually pretty fun. That would be interesting to say the least. Yeah, without getting hit by the car.
Do you think the people on the street could see through him, like the street smart people? They'd be like, "This
No,
guy's an idiot."
No, I don't think anyone can. How are you going to see through that? I mean, maybe they would. Maybe they would. He's just a kind old man. At least we know what's in his goat bag, right? Definitely got that
That's
remote
true.
control. Where is he? There or here? But as somebody who doesn't read books, what would you do with a two-storied library?
I don't read.
Yeah. You sound like an alien, like ET.
I can't do his voice. It'd be one of those things where I'd just be like, point to that book. Yep, these are my collections right here. Seen that one in a movie. Haven't read it.
The
Nope.
amount of chance / luck that he has, though, happens to meet the president, happens to give him advice on his presidency and gardening advice. There's a lot of things, you know, in the statistical analysis of humanity, there's always going to be somebody at the positive side that basically almost nothing bad can happen to them. And also there's going to be someone on the inverse of that, just as there might be somebody who, no matter what they do, they're going to get cancer and so on and so forth. And then somebody who just smokes their entire life and just nothing ever happens to them. You know, they just die at 100, which, you know, you hear about frequently. He's definitely on the upper echelon of that luck / chance / definitely been rolling the dice and hitting non-sevens every single time.
Yeah, I mean, he spent what do you think? He's like 50 something years old in this film.
Yeah.
He spent his whole life watching TV, tending a garden. All of his needs are cared for him. Doesn't have a worry in the world. Zero worry.
And also no knowledge of anything other than what's on that TV. So he has literally, like, he has no idea what to do on
And
anything.
he has a short attention span. He's not watching whole shows. He's not getting the full dialogue of MASH.
I thought when he was on the streets that he was going to get mugged immediately. And I was like, now looking back that you're saying I want to see that movie, I kind of do.
Yeah.
Can we get AI to make stuff?
Him searching for to give that message to Raphael.
Yeah. Then he becomes a drug dealer on the streets. Yes. Do you have my money? He becomes a pimp. I mean, he's kind of dressed like a pimp to some extent. He could just like get a flowier robe. But anyway, I have some facts here, which you probably already know. I try not to actually look up the facts of the other movie, just so that if you say something I don't know, I'm surprised. So I don't try
I do
to
the same.
I try not to, except for Harold and Maude. I read the first two, and I was like, I wanted to know, and I was like, I got to stop it. I want to be surprised. of course, as I said before, Peter Sellers, he was nominated for Best Actor. And there's a huge discrepancy between the arguments, I should say. And so when it displayed at Cannes, Peter, who was there live, was furious with Hal and everyone else, anyone
Why?
involved with the movie, because the outtakes prior to that being sent to Cannes, Peter was like, this should not, like the outtakes at the end of the movie,
At the
basically
end of the
where
movie,
he's
yeah.
breaking character, and there's multiples of them. So it basically kind of, you know,
I think it dilutes the movie
to
to a
some
certain
extent, and
extent. Yeah.
that's what Peter said. And so everyone, not everyone, there's a large swath of human beings that basically said he did not win because of that inclusion. And so they went to Australia, I believe, and they opened up there. They removed it all, but the ending, I guess, just stopped with white noise. And like everyone's like, "Is a movie done?" Like basically the white noise of what you would see Chance and changing the television, which
Ah,
would be pretty cool actually. But with that said, Sellers was just extremely upset, and he said it broke the spell of the movie, which I actually agree with, because you get into that mode, and then it's like, ew. Because like there's one scene where I have seen after like 15 years after, where There Will Be Blood, where Daniel Day Lewis slightly breaks character when he
I would like
laughs
that.
in the
Yeah.
water, but it wasn't included in the movie. I just saw it as an outtake, and even that moment, I was like, "Ooh!" Like it's like kind of icky. But especially with this, because this is a hard character to play, and I would agree, and that's the reason that most people think that he actually did not win Best Actor because of the inclusion of those outtakes, and I kind of agree with that.
Why even include those outtakes? Like, what's the point of that?
The whole premise of the movie is predicated on this the chance having chance and life just luck like no other. Why break that? It does break the spell. It breaks
It
the
does.
mood
Yeah.
completely. Yeah, it's not like you're doing outtakes from Dumb and Dumber. It's where the whole movie is just silly, and then it's just sillier,
Right.
or outtakes from like Wedding Crashers. It's like you get it. That
Like,
makes sense.
would you want to go to a magic show, see the most amazing act, and then they just pull the curtain and show you how it's all done? No, you
Yeah.
wouldn't walk out of the theater being
No.
like feeling something what you just felt at the very last scene or the very last trick. Like that's the thing.
And he spent like nine. Peter Sellers spent like 9 years in this character, to not only from the voice, like he sent Jerzy Kaczynski a letter saying, uh, basically Gardner available for work,
He really
and
wanted this role.
he really wanted it, and but they didn't want him to have it primarily because I guess he was on the outs in Hollywood, and then Pink Panther came roaring, and they're like, okay, you're the only person for the job now. But yeah, I think he's this role is terrific for him. He crushed it. But with that being said, I think it's rough. I will say this about Peter Sellers and another one. In a 2019 interview, costume designer May Ruth, she stated that Peter Sellers would refuse to work if the colors green and purple were visible on set.
Talk about
What?
a demanding choice there.
I'm colorblind, so I can't even justify. I'd have to rewatch the movie again, but I was like, I feel like I've seen a lot of green. He is the gardener, and then purple. Wasn't he wearing something purple? Anyway, could have been blue.
Maybe he's colorblind
Strange,
too.
yeah, very odd like thing to state, but nonetheless, it's a joy to watch. It's I saw it recently, and then I've seen it now twice in 6 months, so I, I, I can take a break, certainly.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's it's kind of a slow movie, and that's okay. Like I appreciated about it. Like I haven't watched this movie in quite a long time, but it is a little bit methodical, and I think that's in point due to the character of Chance.
Oh, for sure. By the way, I can do non-delivered by you for Christmas. By the way, uh, an arm here for the mic. Yeah, I
Is it
thought I was going to
working?
break it for the second time. It is kind of it has to be in a particular way, but yeah, I'll have to say, Mr. Ashby, big fan. Being there, awesome. I don't know if he's walking on water though. I'll leave that up for you guys to debate. Does he walk
Debate
on
it.
water, everyone?
What do you think?
I don't know.
All right, let's go back in time to 1971. We got Harold and Maude. This is a rom-com, black comedy. Again, directed by Hal Ashby. Its writer is Colin Higgins. This was his master thesis for film school, and it just got kind of picked up
Dear
and
sweet
found.
baby Jesus. Oh my God. Could you imagine?
He wanted to direct it. Like that was kind of like if he sells the movie, he's like, I want to direct this, and they let him have a shot at like some test screening, and they're like, you're too new at this. Like we're gonna bring in Hal, and Hal was really nice. Hal was like, hey, I want you to be like a production help me with the production of this movie, so you can watch how I do the directing, which is pretty cool. It's starring Bud Cort, Vivian Pickles, and of course Ruth Gordon. 86% on Rotten Tomatoes. It was kind of critically not well received when it came out in 1971, critically and commercially. 91 minutes. It finally made a profit in 1983. Like I said, it was a flop when it came out, but it developed a cult following, and it was running with late night movies alongside stuff as Alejandro Jodorowsky's El Topo, John Waters' Pink Flamingos, and Lynch's Eraserhead. So
that's good company, Mr. Alejandro specifically.
Could you imagine like a double feature, like you're going to see a movie in like 1980 and it's El Topo and Harold and Maude?
Have you seen
trip?
You haven't seen El Topo, have you?
I haven't. No. Maybe it could be one of our For You films. And it's kind of funny that it took a while to make a profit because the budget was $1.2 million.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
How dare you? It took 12 years to make 1.2 million. Let me ask you, how do they make that 1.2 million? Like, is that like VHS sales? Like, what happened?
There's no action figures in this movie, so it's got to be like second runnings. And I heard there was a theater in Minneapolis, Minnesota that literally played this movie for 3 years straight as a cult like hit.
Oh my God. Are they selling like severed hands and popcorn there or something? Like,
maybe.
what is going on?
It's a good marketing strategy. I will give you 3 taglines for this film.
Please do.
Pretty good. First one. They will defy everything you've ever seen or heard about screen lovers.
Screen lovers, come and rescue me. Take me high, take me low, take me anywhere you want to go.
Love that. That's
Mariah
great,
Carey.
Jonathan. Second tagline. They were meant to be, but exactly what they were meant to be is not quite clear.
Why?
They met at the funeral of a perfect stranger. From then on, things got perfectly stranger and stranger. Pretty good.
I like that, actually. That's not bad. Why are taglines so horrible, though?
I don't know, man.
Like as somebody that writes poetry should just like nail these taglines. Because
does anybody write poetry anymore, though? Honestly, like
I still do. I wrote a poem like not this year, but last year.
You should have a collection of poems come out, publish.
I have a bunch of poems. Some of them I would consider to be publishable. Yeah,
I would love to hear one.
Sounds like you would. It sounds like you would.
All right. So Harold and Maude, it's this darkly funny kind of existential love story. You've got Harold, this deeply morbid, awkward young guy who's obsessed with faking his own death. Not exactly a hit at parties, right? And then there's Maude, this free-spirited, slightly kooky older woman in her late 70s, almost turning 80. Naturally, they meet at a funeral. And so Harold, with all his gloom and doom, gets swept up in Maude's joy for life. And she teaches him things that life is short. Live it up. It's a touching movie, man. And it's a true love story of an odd couple, that somebody that's fascinated with death, but has so much more to live, and somebody that's fascinated with life and has seen death and is about to meet it. And it's these worlds colliding that is just, it's priceless to me.
Yeah, I when watching it was, I try not to do this, but with this movie, I was like, this might be like the best movie of all time. Like, you catch me on the right day. Like, this has all the workings, and I think you really eloquently just said it, of two very, very distinctly different people coming from also age brackets that are on inverse sides of each other of life versus death, but also the act of living. And one definitely certainly has an act of life, and one does not. But it's a beautiful thing I never thought could really truly exist in a movie or a book, to be fair. And it works exceptionally well. And I'm still unsure why. I mean, I'm talking about their characters. I get the ideals being played apart. She's got, like, you know, in her head, like, a few months to live. She's gonna take her own life. He has his entire life to live, um, pretending to take his own life, and the meeting in the middle of to some extent of, like, bringing him out of his shell, and then providing some of the life that she has left to him, to Harold. I get that, but, like, I don't know. I didn't think this was going to work out. The first time I ever watched this movie, when he's hanging himself, I'm like,
That
what the?
very opening scene.
Yeah, I was like, dude. I think I may have actually turned it off. I was like, I don't know, what is this movie about? Because, like, back then, I didn't really, like, I don't know, when people recommended you movies, you just went and watched them. I didn't really, like, do anything to look them up. I don't, if did Google even, yeah, Google existed, and I was just like, what is this movie? And then I think I looked more into it and then watched the whole thing, and I was like, okay, I'm blown away. This is outstanding. But the ideals throughout are terrific, and they're timeless. Like, live as if you're gonna die tomorrow.
Yeah, the quote that I got from this movie, I'll just read it off right now. A lot of people enjoy being dead, but they are not dead, really. They're just backing away from life. Reach out, take a chance, get hurt even, but play as well as you can.
Yeah, I could not agree any more about that. And, there's variations of it, of how far you can actually press that. Hunter S. Thompson pressed it extremely far. Maybe you shouldn't press it that far, but there are iterations. You can take it too far, but you only know, if you've taken it too far, if you've just gone on to the other side, as Hunter would also say.
Is is Maude taking a little bit too far by
No,
basically playing Grand Theft Auto with her life? Just basic. That's what she's doing.
no.
She's stealing
Technically, she
cars.
she didn't know how to drive a car. Old Ruth. Um, that's what I that was one of the first comments on
Yeah,
the
yeah.
trivia. She didn't know actually how to drive. Um, yeah, I mean, maybe she's endangering some people's along the way, but she's still living her life, like, in a fun way. Nobody got injured. I don't, like, terribly. So
And she planted a tree.
yeah, she sure did. So, like, she's definitely maybe somewhat crazy, or just really infectious and full of life. Which she, by the way, of playing a role, she nailed.
Oh my
Miss
god!
Ruth just nailed.
It
Like, she
was
she was her. She was Maude.
yeah, hundred
I've ne-
percent. And
never met a Maude,
you,
by the way.
not like that, but infectious. Not just to Harold, obviously to Harold, uh, but to me watching it again. Like it goes back to that scene where she's in her what is it? A train car is where she
Yeah,
lives,
yeah, yeah.
uh, and she starts playing that Cat Stevens song, and that's when you first get Harold to kind of open up and actually start singing, and like that just moved me so much because you see this blossoming, and especially like in the words of Cat Stevens, if you want to be free, be free. If you want to, it's so poignant, and like you said, timeless, and it doesn't get old, and it's not smarmy or too sentimental either.
Yeah, not even remotely. Actually, I mean, if anything, you could say that it's does. I mean, there is sentimentality, but, like, doesn't really touch upon it. Um, the the Cat Steve. Do you know how? I don't know how Cat Stevens got involved.
It was first
Did,
going to
do,
be Elton John. He wanted
but Elton John was going to be he was going to be playing
he
a
was going to be
part. I
Harold.
thought. Yeah.
and they wanted to get Elton John's music and like do this whole thing. But I think something happened. Elton John backed out, and they were going to get Cat Stevens. They finally got Cat Stevens, and Cat Stevens was going to write all original songs for this film. It didn't work out that way. They didn't have time. And he only got, I think, 3 original songs, and the rest are from his other later or earlier works. But I couldn't imagine this movie without Cat Stevens.
Yeah, I tried thinking about it, even with Elton John. I don't know why I started thinking like, I wonder how this would play out with rap music. Like, like what would this be like with R&B,
Yeah. A little Lauryn Hill or something.
Maybe. I don't know, but Cat Stevens
It would have to be
without
a different.
even with classical music, it would not. This movie would not be the way it is in my head. It wouldn't be as good as it is.
It wouldn't
Not
hit
even
the same.
nearly as good. Yeah. How often do you find yourself singing in the middle of just the movie itself?
Every time I watch it,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
It's infectious.
It's joyful.
It's joyful, and it definitely has that you get put in that time frame of like late 60s, early 70s, like that flower power kind of like, love and hippie and all that stuff. But it fits so well in this movie, and just the visuals, this like soft cinematography of it. You know what I mean?
100%. I go back to the quote you're saying, like the backing away from life. It really is true, and it's one of the saddest things that if you ever see friends, I don't want to say take the easy road out, or they're just not challenge themselves. It's kind of sad to watch, and I think it's got to be terribly sad to watch in like effectively a child, who's giving up on life before it's even started. They don't even understand the life yet. I mean, who's to say that we do? But like, I don't know. I felt like Maude. If you know anything about Rick Rubin, Maude is a lot like Rick Rubin, or Rick Rubin is a lot like Maude in the character of just like the philosophical, like not backing away from life, being in the moment, not getting ahead of yourself, not anxious, and just like taking life as it's coming to you. If you know anything about, I'm reading The Creative Way, I think it's called, by Rick Rubin right now. But I wish in my own life I could be a little more like Maude each and every way. I think it'd be useful for pretty much anyone to be a little more like Maude. A little less like Harold, maybe a little like Harold at the end, but try not to kill yourself or do it in front of others for jokes, shits and giggles. But I don't know. I think that the dual acting performances with growth is some of the best that's been on screen. Less so from Ruth, or I should say less so from Maude, but more so on a boy who has a lot more to grow and give. But it's not as sad as it first started. And I actually forgot the ending, of him like skipping away effectively, and playing the guitar or the banjo. I forgot that, strangely enough. And even that, it didn't feel cheesy. It didn't feel too sentimental. It just was like, yeah, that's kind of how it should end.
And he drove his modified hearse off the cliff. You think maybe as a viewer, before you know the ending, that did he do it? Did he actually finally do it? Nope. It was just one more prank to the viewer this time.
Great shot, though.
Great shot.
Like lovely, lovely shot. Lovely music happening. Yeah, but that ending, it's hard. I don't know. It's a simultaneous happy and sad, that bittersweet feeling. That ending.
Well, he lost the one person that he found the love for life in, but it carries on.
I hope so.
Keeps on giving. Yeah, I hope so too.
I'd like to see the second Harold and Maude. I bet it's miserable.
Does he just go older? Does he go into the geriatric home?
He's just dating like billionaire chicks before they die.
What is the oldest you would, I know you're married now, but what's the oldest you would date?
If I were not married, I don't know, 50s?
There's actually a formula for how young and how old you should date. So
And what's that formula?
the
What's the
formula is
oldest in my formula?
the, I was pretty surprised. For me, it's the oldest for me is 64. So it's -7. Yeah, -7 of your age. So I'm 40. -7 would be 30. No, I'd be 66. So it'd be 33, and then you double it, right?
What is the 7 for?
I don't know. This is the formula that everybody uses. It's the same with young. So if you want to like see how young you can date, you have to uh, divide by 2 your age and then
Yeah.
add 7. So mine would be 27. So I have an age gap of between 27 and 66. So I'm doing that I filtered that on my Hinge profile. Man, it's wild. Getting some
Did you get a lot of mods?
a lot of mods.
I don't know what to say to this. I will probably leave it alone. But I think whoever made this is an interesting human or is an interesting calculator of sorts. But I don't think I agree with that. I think, hey, look, whatever makes anyone happy. I don't know. What do I know? What do I care?
Yeah, I got a cougar that's loaded a couple mil in the bank, you know?
Would you date a 64-year-old? 66?
Yeah, I don't
Demi
think
Moore
so.
is 50. What is she? She 51? 61? I don't know.
She's still got it, yeah. But I mean, there's a lot of plastic, I'm sure, around the edges. No
Still, I
shade to
mean,
Demi.
she has to. I don't know anything about that, but she has to be. She's in shape. She's always been in shape.
Yeah,
She's
always
taking
been
care of
shape.
herself. Looks terrific. Unbelievable.
Agreed.
I would definitely date Demi Moore for sure. I would come out with some like Bruce Willis quotes while we make love.
I don't know if that would go over well. Maybe it would.
Maybe it would.
Yippee ki yay!
Uh,
Computer dating. And then in 1971, man, that's ahead of its time. Look at this movie is very ahead of its time in some of these ways.
Yeah, that's interesting. Another thing, I can't remember the actual scene that was in, but there was a quote of like olfactory banquet, and I was like, if that's not a band name by now, I don't know. Like that should definitely be a band name. Olfactory banquet, something that smells good, or a combination of things in your olfactory system.
I feel like it'd be a OFB for short. You guys gonna go see OFB tonight? Yeah, let's go see OFB.
I'm down with OFB. Are you?
Yes, I'm
Yeah,
totally
you know
down.
me. I mean, as a connoisseur of olfactory banquets, and there was multiple candles being lit. I was wondering, like, what's your flavor? What's your style of candle?
Right now, I got spiced pumpkin,
Mm.
and I guess I got these in the fall. Pumpkin cheesecake cookies.
Ooh, look at that! You seem like the type that would have like a Bill Cosby candle.
What the hell is that?
I think you know. It's the one where everyone just falls asleep, and you have a good night's rest.
Sounds very relaxing until it isn't.
Yeah. Here, have some pumpkin cheesecake, Cosby. You want a piece of this licorice? They were eating licorice on. It reminded me. I just despise licorice so intensely. My mom loves it, and I've never gotten around to liking it.
I don't go out of my way for licorice, but if somebody hands me like, "Hey, you want some licorice?" I'm down for it.
Has that ever happened in your whole existence where somebody handed you licorice?
Oh yeah,
When?
yeah.
Are you talking about a Twizzler?
I don't consider Twizzlers licorice because it's its own
So
flavor.
black licorice. Someone's like, "Hi,
Yeah.
would you like some licorice?"
Yeah, like a jelly bean. Yeah, sure.
You are hanging out with mods. This happened recently, didn't it?
I mean,
how many mods have you met in the last week that have offered you licorice? They're probably like they lost their homes and now they're trying to date again. These 66-year-olds, and they just want to hang out with a young buck like yourself of 40.
Thanks for calling me a young buck.
So funny. They're just starting off with licorice, though. Just easily getting
Oh,
into those pants. It's pretty easy, huh?
it's the Cosby licorice.
Oh man, how did we get here? But
No
nonetheless,
idea.
great movies. Mr. Hal, what did he do? Like, I haven't gone down his filmography. Like, what else has he done? I have no idea, honestly.
I mean, these are the two that I've always gravitated towards, and I will be upfront and clear. Like, I haven't seen The Last Detail with Jack Nicholson. I haven't seen Shampoo, which is another big movie of his. I think those are like the two big ones. Um,
Never
and
heard.
now I kind of want to watch it, both of them.
And why don't we get to some ratings?
Let's do it. Rating time. Rating time. The best time of the year.
Are we going to go with Being There first?
Yeah, we can do Being There first.
You know, Stephen,
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know what to do with this movie. So I don't know. Let's talk about it. So in my brain, the performance is just stunningly great, and carries just so much weight to it. The story itself is a little slow, a little bland at times, and I think it's meant to be that. Um, I don't know where to place it. To me, in my head, I just think it's a 4.5 glass movie.
The pacing of it is a little slow. The cinematography is absolutely gorgeous. I want to live in this movie. Um, it's completely gorgeous. And what you said, what elevates it for me is Peter Sellers just giving this
Yeah,
master class of a nuanced performance.
stunning.
Is it a Golden Glasses? To me, no. I agree with you at 4.5 glasses on this.
Why though? In my gut, it's like my gut. It's like I don't know. I just couldn't give it a 5.
There were moments watching this movie again where I did have an inclination of chance where I wanted to pick up the remote and change it.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's okay with movies. They can have lulls and boring things in some places, and it builds. But like, I think this movie would have been a Golden Glasses if it cut out 15 minutes.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, certainly. Some extra fluff was unnecessary. Yeah,
So that's where it's at for me.
that's good. And Harold and Maude. Why don't you go first? It's your movie.
It's your poster. Um, yeah, it's my movie, Harold and Maude. This is one of the films that are near and dear to my heart. This is one of those films when I was in my early 20s. I would share this with people that were like-minded, that liked films, and push it on them. And it's weird. Like, I felt watching this movie at my age now, 20 years later, something hit me even more harder of like, what are you doing with your life? Like, go out there and live it.
Yeah,
Make yourself uncomfortable. Have that spark that Maude gives, and find that again. And like, for a movie to do that with me seeing it multiple times, many times, and not a long time, but like have that spark in me again. Like, for a movie that can move you like that, it's a Golden Glasses for me.
yeah. I mean, the movie doesn't change, but you do.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. It's always gonna be a 5 glasses, a golden glasses for me. This is like for all the movies behind me, they're all 5 as well. I just adore it. I just love the performances. I love Cat Stevens, the cinematography of it, and just like the jokes to be so dark and downtrodden to uplifting at the very end and throughout. And the moments that, you know, two people that are disparately on the other end of life and death coming together. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful story, and it's five. Of course, it's five. It's nothing else but five. Um, but it's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah. I mean, this was a real treat this week, talking about just two of my favorite movies from this director and Hal Ashby. Thanks for indulging me this week with this topic.
What do we have next week, my brother?
Next week we're putting on our boots, lacing up our vest or our leather vest, getting on some steers, and trekking out to the Spaghetti West.
Spaghetti Westerns. We are taking on one of my favorites, and whether you agree or disagree, you're wrong. And we're doing a focus on Sergio Leone, but he has, in my opinion, Fistful of Dollars, which is going to be my movie, and which you will find out why later. And what's yours?
Mine is The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And this is good. This is gonna be fun, man.
That was actually like the final countdown. Do 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 do. Way off. Yeah, gonna be a lot of fun. We've been wanting to do westerns, and for whatever it's worth, we've had just multiple discussions about it. And then Stephen always gets passive aggressive, and he won't respond to like the western, and be like, "Well, what are your thoughts of 1936 westerns?" And then he'll get me uprooted from the conversation when I'm like, I'm done with this conversation, and that's probably what he wanted to have the opportunity to ponder what he wanted now. So here we are, westerns finally. My God, but we've elated.
Yeah, I'm excited about this. We've been putting this genre off long enough, and we'll be doing westerns, and then we got a whole like slate coming up. We're going to be doing. I think we're going to be doing some movies in the Pacific Isles. Maybe 3. I don't know. 3 podcasts there. That could be on the docket.
Special guests are going to be a part of one of those, but we are going to have multiples of Hawaiian themed, in person Hawaiian themed.
We're going to finally get this in person thing figured out. If it takes forever.
You see this? This is what we're going to get worked out. These are called microphones that attach to here, and we're going to figure those out. These are like $400, first of all. So we'll get it to work. You bring your mic, I'll bring mine. We'll sit very far away from each other, and the two people in the middle will wear these. It'll work.
Perfect. All right, till next time.